Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, so the aftermath of this Kamala campaign disaster continues, and I think the topic of discussion that most people have been running with is that it really seems like the Democrats don't get it, or at least the Kamala Harris campaign doesn't get it, and the proof for that is in the pudding. It's plain as the eye can see. The Kamala campaign failed because it came off as dishonest, insincere, fake, honestly, to use the simplest term. That's why they lost. And now in their response to this crushing defeat, what do you think their response is? More straight up copium lies. I mean, a blatant lie trying to rewrite recent history. The DNC simply doesn't get it. I don't think they'll ever get it at this rate. And the proof for that statement comes from what Kamala Harris's own campaign insiders are essentially saying. Take a look at this Democrat delusion. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright friends, so I found this very interesting clip. Here's a Kamala Harris campaign staffer, possibly a campaign director, I'm not 100% sure. But anyways, seemingly a high-level Kamala campaign insider. Take a look at what she had to say on this podcast.
Should Kamala Harris have gone on Rogan? Can you just, not to be tedious about it, could you talk a little bit about how close she came to doing it, why it didn't happen?
Yeah, there's a lot of intrigue around this, a lot of theories. It's pretty simple. We wanted to do it. I hate to repeat this over and over, but it was a very short race with a limited number of days. And for a candidate to leave the battleground to go to Houston, which is a day off the playing field in the battleground, getting that timing right is really important. So we had discussions with Joe Rogan's team. They were great. They wanted us to come on. We wanted to come on. We tried to get a date to make it work, and ultimately we just weren't able to find a date. We did go to Houston, and she gave a great speech at an amazing event.
The Beyonce event?
Yes. Well, I'm going to call it reproductive freedom. Because Texas is ground zero for the impact of these Trump abortion bans. There's a story out today, in fact, of another young woman who lost her life because of it. And we were hoping to be able to fit it in around that. And ultimately weren't able to do it. As it turns out, that was the day that Trump was taping his Joe Rogan. Which they had never confirmed to us. We kind of figured that out in the lead up to it. She was ready, willing to go on Joe Rogan. Would it have changed anything? It would have been it would have broken through, not because of the conversation with Joe Rogan, but because the fact that she was doing it. And that was really the benefit of it. Will she do it sometime in the future? Maybe. Who knows?
I find that so funny. In the aftermath of this campaign, if the Democrats understood what went so horribly wrong, that is, they would be clearly assessing the issue. I mean, we needed to just show up. We needed to have that honest conversation with the American people. But instead the response is, well, we couldn't do Rogan because we didn't have time for it. What a blatant lie and misrepresentation of what just happened in front of the entire world. It's like the Democrats haven't properly adapted to the digital world. We kind of see everything. Everything's playing out in front of us, and people are constantly leaking information to some sort of source online. And we just went through this timeline. We know exactly why Kamala Harris didn't go on Rogan. It's because they weren't comfortable with the fact that they couldn't control the narrative or control the environment.
She had an opportunity to come here when she was in Texas, and I literally gave them an open invitation. I said, anytime. I said, if she's done at 10 o'clock, we'll come back here at 10 o'clock. I go, I'll do it at 9 in the morning. I'll do it at 10 p.m. I'll do it at midnight. She's up. She wants to, drink a Red Bull and party on.
You're offering her the opportunity to do exactly what the other candidate did, right?
Well, she actually reached out when she found out that he was coming on. So their camp reached out to me. So I said, great, I would love to talk to her. But it was very difficult to tie it down, and they wanted to travel. And see, the thing is, you can't, if I go somewhere, then there's going to be other people in the room.
Yeah, it's not like we just covered that Joe Rogan clip, 2 weeks ago? It didn't work out with Rogan because they refused to show up at his studio and just do the podcast like everybody else, like Donald Trump did, like Bernie Sanders did, like Tulsi Gabbard has, and so many other people. Just show up and have that conversation. What's so difficult? Oh, we just couldn't fit it into our super busy schedule. They did like 3 events. What busy schedule? And Kamala Harris showed up for 6 minutes on stage and then disappeared forever and handed off the night to Lizzo? What absolute nonsense. And just to explain just the level of BS of this, they're suggesting they couldn't link up with Rogan. Oh, we couldn't get it on the schedule. We were so busy in the battleground states, but they literally went to Houston. Even Joe Rogan said that. She was in Houston and Joe Rogan reached out to her team and said, hey, come sit down and have a conversation. And they didn't. She could have easily fit that in her schedule, but they decided to run away. And they set the ultimatum down that they wanted control. Rogan has to come to us. We control the time limit. And of course, they probably wanted editorial power as well. And that's why it ultimately didn't work. Because they seemingly can't work in an environment that's performance-based. The fakest party of all time. They can't actually perform in real time, so they'd rather do SNL and put on a whole theatrical performance. The only problem for them is that people want to vote for an actual president, not an actor or a puppet. I mean, no wonder people increasingly just don't want to work with Democrats. Joe Rogan essentially said, F no. We saw a bunch of big streamers and content creators doing the same thing, and now we've got another one. Popular YouTube show Hot Ones turned down Kamala Harris's pre-election interview request. Yeah, no wonder people saw what happened with the Call Her Daddy podcast, and I think it was clear to everybody that the only thing the Kamala Harris campaign was interested in was engaging in a 30-minute to 1-hour ass-kissing session, masquerading as a podcast, and so the rest of these YouTubers, content creators, streamers probably thought to themselves, yeah, probably not a good idea to appear like a mindless left-wing Democrat shill to my audience. Maybe not the best business practice. There seems to be an incompatibility issue. The Democrats are fake, everybody knows it, and so they essentially can't show their faces in any space of honest discussion because, well, Joe Rogan knows.
The money in politics is so extraordinary, which is something that should have never been allowed to happen.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris recently got caught because the campaign was using articles, and they changed the article. They changed like the titles of the article. They put out like fake positive articles.
Right.
And the fact that you can do something like that, you can persuade people to think that people are writing about something when you're actually putting it out there,
Right.
which is just bananas.
Right.
It's just a complete manipulation of the zeitgeist.
He knows that they're faking headlines, that they're deceptively taking clips and quotes out of context, and having their minions of Gen Z political activists develop spurious narratives to push to the masses. In other words, Kamala Harris HQ, Joe Rogan knows. And so clearly, it's too big of a risk now, isn't it? They can't show their faces, and now the legacy media is dying. And so what do? Well, they only have one clear choice here. They need to come clean with the American people. The party needs to reform itself, and obviously that ain't happening. I mean, for that to even begin to happen, considering how many Democrats are essentially leeches in Washington and how long their terms are, it would probably take a decade to see something even close, just like we're seeing with this MAGA movement in the Republican Party. It's been almost 10 years, and it's still pretty early in the process of this grassroots takeover. So essentially, at least in my view, the Democrats are completely screwed here. They need to go into party rebuild mode, but they're so incredibly delusional and out of touch with reality that it doesn't even seem that they're entering the process. Everything is always somebody else's fault, or there's always a bogus, dishonest excuse or narrative being built. These people obviously didn't learn anything, and their party's in full-blown collapse. I guess the Obama honeymoon might be finally over. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.